What if I told you the Vatican owns a device that can see through time?
What if the history you know is only the edited version, while the truth was secretly recorded thousands of years ago? Deep inside the Vatican, beyond the impenetrable walls of the Apostolic archives, some believe that more than documents are being preserved there. They say images exist, images of events humanity was never meant to witness again. Today we enter one of the Church's most closely guarded secrets. The Chronovisor, the machine that looks through time. Imagine walking down a corridor where the air feels heavy, thick with the dust of manuscripts that have not been touched for centuries. Every step echoes like a warning. Your history is not merely preserved. It is locked away. For many, the Archivio Apostolico Vaticano is just a library. For those who know where to look, it is a labyrinth of uncomfortable truths. A place where the past never truly died but was simply imprisoned. But what if, in those underground chambers, among forbidden Gnostic texts, something is hidden that defies the laws of physics? For decades, one disturbing story has refused to die: the existence of the Chronovisor. A device said not to travel through time, but to capture the electromagnetic waves left behind by past events. A window opened directly onto the crucifixion of Jesus, or the lost speeches of the ancient world. If this machine truly existed, what did they see through it? And more importantly, what did they discover that made it necessary for the device to vanish without a trace, and for the texts that confirmed it to be declared heretical? Stay with me, because today we are unlocking the gates of the archives. We are examining the evidence, the testimonies of priests, and the forbidden translations that could completely rewrite our origins. Let the journey begin. At the center of this mystery there is not a fiction writer but a man of the Church. Pellegrino Ernetti. A Benedictine monk, a specialist in archaic languages and ancient sounds. Ernetti lived in a world of manuscripts, prayer, and sacred tradition. But that is exactly what makes his testimony so difficult to dismiss. When an ordinary man speaks about impossible machines, the world laughs. But when a priest with access to some of the highest circles of the Vatican claims he looked through time, the story can no longer be ignored. Ernetti was not talking about a time capsule like in the movies. He described the Chronovisor as a kind of television of the past. His idea was fascinating. Every sound ever spoken, every image ever created, leaves behind an electromagnetic imprint. A vibration that does not truly disappear, but remains embedded somewhere in the structure of the universe. The Chronovisor, according to Ernetti, was the device that could tune reality into those lost frequencies, recovering moments that had taken place thousands of years ago. A window opened onto the events that official history may have rewritten, distorted, or erased. But Ernetti was not alone. He claimed that 12 of the greatest minds of the 20th century had worked on this project. Among the names whispered in connection with it, Enrico Fermi, the father of nuclear energy, and Wernher von Braun, the rocket genius behind NASA's space ambitions. But what could have brought these giants of science together with a Benedictine priest beneath the shadows of the Vatican? Maybe the desire to see truth without filters. Ernetti claimed they succeeded. He said they had witnessed the speeches of Cicero, and even the crucifixion of Jesus. But every secret has a countermeasure. When Ernetti presented a photograph of Jesus, supposedly captured by the Chronovisor, skeptics reacted immediately. The image looked strikingly similar to a statue from an Italian sanctuary. So was the Chronovisor just an elaborate hoax created by an overly imaginative priest? Or was that piece of evidence intentionally falsified to destroy the credibility of the machine before it could reveal too much? Because in the world of secret archives, the best way to hide a truth is to dress it in an obvious lie. But the question remains: if all of it was just an invention, why did the Vatican later declare that anyone using a device with such characteristics would be excommunicated immediately? You do not excommunicate someone over a toy that does not work. You do it for something that threatens the established order. Because a machine that can see the past would mean the end of control over the present. and what Ernetti witnessed in those forbidden moments may be connected to some of the oldest and most dangerous texts on Earth. But the mystery of the Chronovisor does not end with electronic components and radio frequencies. The true terror for powerful institutions was not the machine itself. It was what the machine could have confirmed. They say that in the same underground chambers where the device was hidden, there are manuscripts that were never included in the Bible. Texts that speak of a completely different origin of mankind. The Gnostic scriptures. In 1945 in Egypt, a lost library was discovered that shook the academic world. The Gnostic Gospels. These texts offer a radical version of reality. According to some Gnostic beliefs, we are not simply the creation of a benevolent God. We are trapped in a world shaped by a lower entity known as the Demiurge. The Gnostics believed humanity was a species with amnesia. A divine lineage grafted into a material world that functions like a prison for the spirit. So if the Chronovisor was used to look back at the beginnings of civilization, did it confirm this forbidden version of creation? There are theories suggesting that Ernetti and his team did not only look at Jesus. They may have gone much further back. Back to the dawn of humanity. To the time when ancient texts speak of the sons of God, who came together with the daughters of men. But what if the device showed that our origins are not only biological? What if humanity is the result of an outside intervention, whether spiritual or extraterrestrial? That would be the missing piece of the puzzle. Maybe the Church did not hide the Chronovisor to protect the image of Jesus. Maybe it hid it to protect the greatest secret of all. That mankind is not what it was told to be. The forbidden translations hidden in the archives describe humanity as a divine spark concealed within flesh. A spark that, once awakened through knowledge, through that gnosis, becomes impossible to control. The Chronovisor was the ultimate tool of awakening. But someone decided that the light of truth was too powerful for human eyes. And what if the evidence was never destroyed, only moved to a place where time itself no longer has any power? But what exactly is written in these manuscripts that the Vatican allegedly considered so dangerous enough to verify them with an impossible technology? In texts such as the Apocryphon of John or Pistis Sophia, we are shown a disturbing cosmic hierarchy. The Gnostics did not see this world as a blessing. They saw it as a barrier. They spoke of the Archons, the guardians of this material dimension. Entities that, under the rule of the Demiurge, created a network of control designed to keep the divine spark trapped inside an endless cycle of amnesia and suffering. So if the Chronovisor truly managed to look back into the 0 point of civilization, did it capture the moment when this grafting took place? There are fragments in the forbidden text suggesting that we, as human beings, carry within us a spiritual technology far more advanced than that of our material creators. And maybe that is why we are watched. Maybe that is why our history is constantly distorted. Think about the implications. What if Ernetti saw, through that temporal window, that the great religions had been partially altered to serve these Archons? The Gnostic texts speak clearly about this idea. Do not fear those who can kill the body, but those who can bend the spirit toward forgetfulness. And this forgetfulness is one of the central themes of the Nag Hammadi manuscripts. They describe humanity as a noble vine, but one that has been made to believe it is a slave. So what if the Vatican's device confirmed that Jesus, or the great Gnostic prophets, did not come to create religions built on rigid hierarchies? What if they came to bring us the key to escape this ancient matrix? That would have been the spark capable of setting every institution of power on fire. The Chronovisor was not just a video camera. It was the ultimate lie detector for our entire reality. Researchers who studied Ernetti's testimony alongside the Gnostic translations noticed a strange coincidence. Both speak about frequencies. The Gnostics described the material world as a lower vibration, while the spirit belonged to a higher frequency. And the Chronovisor was said to work on the same principle, tuning into frequencies that had been lost to time. Maybe the machine did not only reveal images from the past. Maybe it revealed the deceptive structure of the world we live in. A structure the elites of that time decided the public was not ready to understand. Because a human being who knows their divine origin and understands the technology through which they are manipulated becomes impossible to govern. The story of the Chronovisor officially ended in a deafening silence. Father Pellegrino Ernetti died in 1994, taking with him the greatest secrets of the device. It is said that on his deathbed, under immense pressure from his superiors, he retracted everything. But this is where the detail becomes chilling. Inside the Vatican's circles of intelligence, rumors claim the machine was never destroyed. It was only retired. Why? Because its results had become impossible to control. What if looking into the past confirmed that our dogmas are nothing more than social constructions, designed to hide a reality far greater and far more dangerous? A reality where time is not linear, but a closed circle where we are recycled endlessly. Let's bring the pieces together. On one side, we have a priest scholar telling us that everything humanity has ever experienced is recorded in the ether of the universe. On the other side, we have the Gnostic texts warning us that we are living inside a simulation, a prison of low frequencies. So what if the Chronovisor was actually humanity's first attempt to break the code of this matrix? Imagine what that would mean for a system of power that has existed for thousands of years. One single device capable of proving that history is a lie. That the great figures we worship were something very different from what we were told. That the gods of antiquity were not mystical beings, but technological architects of this reality. At that moment, the Chronovisor is no longer just a time machine. It becomes a weapon of mass liberation. And no institution that bases its power on the control of information would ever allow such a weapon to exist in the hands of the public. Maybe the real question is not whether the Chronovisor existed in a physical sense, with buttons, wires, and cathode ray screens. The question is this: why are we so afraid to look back without filters? Today we live in an age of total surveillance, where algorithms try to predict our future before we even choose it. But the future cannot be controlled unless the past is controlled first. The case of Ernetti and the lost texts of Nag Hammadi leaves us with one chilling possibility. We may be a species that was taught to forget. Carriers of a divine inheritance, buried beneath layers of historical censorship, doctrine, and controlled memory. If the Vatican holds a window into the past, then maybe that window was never meant for us. Maybe it exists so they can always know how much of the truth is still left to hide. But remember one thing: frequencies cannot be silenced forever. The Gnostic spark, once awakened, will always search for its way home. And that path begins with one simple question: who are we when no one is watching through the Chronovisor? This was our journey today into the heart of the Forbidden Archives. Do you believe the time-viewing machine was real? Or was it only the most sophisticated myth ever created to hide the Gnostic text? Write your thoughts in the comments. We are the Hidden Order, and the truth is always just one frequency away. See you in the next mystery.